and you guys will be like, yes, we are aware that we're recording. But welcome everyone. It's really good to have you here today. We have a couple of items on our agenda today. So one thing that we're doing is we're working on our new website. And one thing that we really want to be able to put on the website is kind of like testimonials and hearing from you guys and local phenology programs about like what you like from Nature's Notebook and kind of what you would want to share with other people about like why would Nature's Notebook be something that could be beneficial to your organization, or that that you could learn from with your organization. So we'll kind of have a little group sessions about that. And then another aspect that we are going to talk about today, which just totally left my brain, even though I was
visitor engagement.
Yeah, thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
I have all my little things written down. We're going to talk about how to engage with visitors who are at your program for like one day, right? So we talk a lot about volunteer engagement, how to engage with your volunteers, but your programs are really cool and you learn a lot from them. And how do you like engage with your guests and educate them about like, well, what phenology is? Because I'm sure a lot of your guests like enjoy the natural world, but they might not know about phenology or the research that you guys are doing. And so how to engage with like those kind of one-time visitors. And so, but today, one thing I wanted to start us off with is an activity that you guys can do to be engaging with your volunteers, especially if you ever have Zoom meetings with your volunteers. So one way to keep your volunteers engaged, especially like in the off seasons or even in the on seasons, but if you're having like Zoom meetings where you're all getting together, sometimes it's nice to have little icebreakers where everyone can kind of relax a little bit and get to know each other. And so we're going to do one of those today, and that is Phenology Pictionary. So Zoom is really it's a cool platform because there's different kind of, you can do like polls and you can like, annotate things, but you can also use it for ways to engage with your volunteers. And so we're going to do Phenology Pictionary together. And I'm going to give you guys an example of how it's done. And then first I'll ask for volunteers for the next one. But if I don't get volunteers, then we'll do voluntold for a couple of you guys. But I'll show you how we do it. And so what I do is I share my screen. And whenever you click on the share screen, don't do it right now because I'm doing it, but you'll see a tab that comes up. It shows your different screens, but it also shows whiteboard. So if I click on whiteboard and I click on share, and you can see the mess I made when I was practicing earlier. And see now, how do I clear my whiteboard? Whiteboard, I want to clear all my drawings there. So you can clear your drawings. So when you click the share screen, you'll see that black bar that comes up, and mine's on my other screen here. That's why I keep looking over. But you can choose different colors and things like that. So right now I'm going to draw a general species, not a particular species. So like, I wouldn't say Douglas fir for like a pine tree, but I might say like, pine in general. And I'm going to draw a phenophase that has to do with that species. And you guys can either shout it out loud or put it in the comments. I generally prefer the shout outs. If you can win, and if you guess what organism it is that I'm drawing, and what phenophase this organism is showing. So I'm gonna, and when you click on format here, you can change the colors. So I'm gonna do this one, and I'm gonna start drawing, and you guys can start guessing at any time, and I will stop you if anyone guesses it correctly. So I'm drawing, and then I'm gonna have this little guy. I'm going to do a specific one, I think, that is generally accurate on this. But if you guess what it is, go ahead.
Caterpillar.
It's a leaf miner.
It's a what?
It's a leaf miner.
A leaf miner. What is a leaf miner?
It's a caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Yeah. And what phenophase is this caterpillar showing?
Eating.
Eating. Yeah. So we've got a caterpillar. I tried to make it a monarch as best I could. But you didn't have, yeah.
Wait a minute. We have to know our butterfly larvae stages.
No, you don't know. Just know caterpillar. Caterpillar would have been good enough. That was me. being a little extra.
All right.
A monarch. But yeah, so right, so something general. Most of your volunteers will know it's a caterpillar, and hopefully they could see that it's eating a leaf. So I'm going to stop share. And whom amongst you would like to do the next one? And you can let me know. I have some pre-made prompts. So let me know if you want a prompt from me or if you want to do your own Pictionary one. Who would like to do it? Not so much. All right. I'm going to pick then. I'm going to pick Nick. So Nick,
Okay.
I'm going to send you in the chat what
Okay.
you can draw. So I'm going to send it just to you. And I'm going to do this. And then you should be, do you have the access to share screen at the bottom?
Yes, and
Yeah, so go ahead and share your screen.
ready to click whiteboard.
Yeah, share screen and whiteboard. Go for it.
All right. And I haven't used this, so give me a second to
Yep, you're
get
fine.
the color here. Okay. All right. We ready?
Ready.
All right. This is gonna take a while.
You're good.
No guesses yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
But it's
Once I
okay if you
start,
guys shout out wrong guesses too, because then that helps the Pictionary person know if they're on the right track or not.
Maybe a seed pod.
we got it close.
Oh, there we go. Okay. A flower blooming.
And I'm probably not doing it to scale.
Am I supposed to say what flower? Sunflower?
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kristen
Got
got
it.
sunflower, and I saw Elizabeth. Nick, did you see Elizabeth in the chat, what she wrote?
No, I wasn't monitoring the chat.
That's okay. And Elizabeth in the chat said open flower too.
Yeah.
Did they guess correctly?
Someone who said sunflower.
I did.
Okay, you got it.
Kirsten.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice job, Nick. So it was a sunflower, open flower.
Yeah.
So there you go. Perfect. Stop sharing. All right. And we'll do one more. Do we have one more volunteer for someone who would like to draw some Pictionary on here?
I can draw something.
You want it? Yeah. Oh, great. Okay. I'm going to message you, Kirsten. And
Okay.
I'm going to message you.
Oh, how do I see the chat? Okay.
So I sent it to you in the chat for
All right.
draw.
Okay. So am I supposed to share screen and go to whiteboard? Is
Yep.
that
Go to
just
share
annotate?
screen and go to whiteboard.
Okay.
And this is what you'll do with your volunteers too. Like when they're on Zoom, don't assume that they know how to do everything. Like always, like walk them through it. And you guys might know this dealing with volunteers, right? It's good to like take it a step at a time because you never want to assume. Oh, but you're going, you're ready.
Blue Jay.
Pretty close.
Bluebird.
Bluebird. And what is it doing? It's hard to tell.
Sitting in a branch.
How do you get, okay, now I have to find draw.
Elizabeth guessed
No,
perching.
perching, and it's doing something, but I erased it.
Elizabeth guessed singing.
Singing, yeah.
There you go, some
Yeah.
notes.
There you go.
All right.
Bluebird singing.
All right.
Woo! Round of applause for
Yeah.
everybody. But that is Phenology Pictionary. It's just one way, like especially with Zoom meetings, to just kind of get everyone involved and a little bit of an icebreaker. And with that, I did totally forget to do introductions because I was so excited about Pictionary. So let's do that real quick before we get started. My name is Samantha Brewer. I'm a volunteer engagement coordinator at the USA-NPN. And then Erin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Erin Postman, the outreach coordinator here at the NPN.
All right, and then you guys go through and tell us what program you guys are doing when you introduce yourselves. And Cheryl, you can go ahead and go next.
I'm Cheryl LeClaire, and I live in Swansboro, North Carolina, and I'm going to be doing the Phenology Leaders course.
Excellent, I'm excited to see you. That's great. All right, Nick, go ahead.
Nick Kunz with the Skagit Conservation District. That's up in the northwest of Washington. And I'll be doing the leaders program.
Excellent, good. I'm excited to see you there. I did see your name come up and I was like, woohoo, it's Nick. All right, Kirsten, go ahead.
Kirsten Bell. I'm with the city of Longmont, Colorado, and I took the phenology training course about a year ago, last fall. So we have a phenology trails in place, so it's really exciting. And a few volunteers.
That's great. Good. And you've been going for about a year now?
We actually started last spring. I took the training in the fall and then approached the city like midwinter, and then we started last May.
Hey, congratulations. That's great. Good to hear.
So our next step is to figure out, we've got volunteers. Signs took a little while through the city. Our next step is to sort of do a public initiation, sort of. Yeah.
So like a public call for volunteers?
Public call for volunteers and just do some kind of education around what are these signs? What does it
Perfect.
mean?
Yeah.
What can you do?
And then Elizabeth, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself, but you could also put in chat a little bit about yourself, and I don't mind reading everybody.
Sure, no worries. Good afternoon or good morning, all. I'm Elizabeth Finney. I'm with the Vermont Department of Forest Parks and Recreation, and I'm running an LPP that is statewide here. We're focused on monitoring the phenology of 3 invasive species, a tree, a shrub, and a vine, to help us get a better understanding of the phenophase timing for these species in the northern part of the Northeast, to help with management, but then also to give ourselves a baseline of data so that we can track going into the future changes in the phenology of these species that's predicted with climate change. And it's been really fun. We're deep into the growing season here. We're getting desperately close to frost temperatures in the state. So excited to enter this part of the first year of our project.
That's great. I'm glad you're excited, and it's a really cool program that you guys are doing. So thank you for being here. And then I see Nan's iPad just came in, or Nan just came in. Nan, if you are connected to audio, do you want to introduce yourself to us? Just your name and the project that you're involved with.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Nan Huebner, and I'm associated with Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina. And we're also Great Smoky Mountain National Park.
Excellent. Well, welcome. Well, thank you. Thank you guys. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. And so I guess we'll get started. And Erin, are you okay with talking about like what you'd like, what our first kind of activity is going to be for this meeting today?
Yeah, so we are really excited that we've been working on a brand new website. And some of you, I think we've mentioned this before, so you might already be aware of this. We are actually combining websites with our Nature's Notebook and our NPN website. So it's going to be one single website. So we're doing lots and lots of streamlining. But what we're also doing is we're trying to bring in some features and things that people have been requesting for a long time. And one thing that a lot of our local phenology programs have asked us for a long, long time is some sort of a map where you can see where are the programs across the country, who's doing what. And you could actually, if you're already have a program that's participating, you could find people near you and you could easily reach out to them, or you can see the contact information and maybe like go join voices on trainings and things like that. Or if you're someone who's an independent volunteer who wants to get involved, you can see what are the programs near you and then reach out to see if you could join them in doing monitoring with a local phenology program. So we're really excited about that. So that's going to be kind of a major new feature that we have. But we also on that page want to have kind of a way to introduce the idea of local phenology programs and have what we might call like a pitch to someone. Why would you want to start a local phenology program? And so we were coming up with some ideas of, oh, you might want to do it because of this or this, but we thought it might be really good to ask you all like your opinion about what you might say to someone who's thinking about it. Maybe they don't really know much about local phenology programs or why they'd want to start one. But if you could offer them something, it would be really short. We want to have just like a sentence or two to kind of pitch them the idea and tell them why they might want to start one of these programs. And then the next step after that would be, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to start and I'm going to request a group. So we are going to put you into little breakouts, I think. Let's see, it'll be, maybe we could do like a group of 2 and a group of 3. I think I can set those up. And then just kind of like talk amongst yourselves and come up with like one pitch or maybe 2, really short. And we will hopefully be able to include those on our new website that we're making. So let me do the breakouts. I think too, let me see if I can do this easily. Okay, I'm gonna do this. And then I'm gonna assign this. Okay, so I'm gonna put you in 2 different breakouts. So there'll be one with 2 and one with 3. Just really short, like 5 minutes, and then we'll bring you all back and we can talk about what you came up with. Does that all sound clear? Any questions? All right, cool. Okay, the rooms are open. Welcome back. So
Hey.
how did it go? Does anyone want to share what they talked about?
So Elizabeth and I were talking about how just being involved with the phenology trail really forces you to slow down and ask questions. And then also right when we're leaving, Elizabeth was saying, making connections with your environment and the weather, and then the animals or plants you're observing. So.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we're using phenology to better understand our animal and plant neighbors, and like through the act of observing, you have to slow down so that you can do the observing, so that you can notice these small changes, and that cascades to a whole lot of other things, like Kirsten said.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm writing down my notes so I can make sure we include this stuff. What about our other group? What did you guys talk about?
I think we touched on learning more about nature, enjoying nature, and then also that you just learn so much more. I mean, Nick brought up a really great point that if you're into seed collecting because you want to, have your own plants, it's good to know when it's best to collect the seeds. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then also it came up about opportunities for public education, because we all work at areas that have a lot of public visitation. And even Nick had mentioned working with school groups. It's a good medium for that.
Excellent. Those are all wonderful ideas. Thank you so much. Anything else anyone wants to share? So one other thing that we're hoping to put on this pitch page is kind of a highlight of the local phenology programs that are already participating. So I wanted to share an example of this so you can kind of see what we're looking for. It will be like a local phenology programs in action. And we're going to have a photograph and then just a quote from a local phenology leader like you that just kind of says like some highlights about what you're doing and why your program is special. So we would love to have more of these. So if any of you would like to submit one, I know some of you are just getting started with your programs, but we'll be adding more of these and rotating them out. So please, if you want to send anything, you can just email Samantha or myself, and just a short quote and then the name of your program and a photo. And that would be great.
And I will add to that too, one of our goals is we do, like, you guys in your local phenology programs are kind of the heart and soul of collecting these data. And so we really want to, you know, we want to highlight you guys and the things that you do a lot. So you'll probably see several of those sort of notifications. We're going to try to be a little bit more active on social media and highlighting some of you guys on social media. So just a heads up, you might see more of these calls for like, hey, we love your program and we want to hear from you and we want to share what you're doing. So because one of the really great things about this program is it's all across the United States, and all of you have your own programs with your own backgrounds and your own volunteers with your own experiences and the ways that you're perceiving the phenology of the area around you. And we think that's really cool, and we just want to be able to share it with everyone. So thank you for everything that you've shared with us so far. And yes, if you could email us a little, just a quote of like what your program does and just things that you want to share with everyone about your program on the website, and definitely a photo with you and your volunteers or any plants that have been particularly special. Please definitely send that to us. We would love to hear from you. And so then that will bring us into our next segment. So, and actually that was great that you guys kind of mentioned this with your like, with that last bit of like, you know, it's the good opportunity to share with the public, share phenology with the public and share science with the public too, right? And like the importance of science. And the great thing about citizen science or volunteer scientists is you get to participate in the scientific process. So sometimes in the world, it's kind of like, oh, you know, science can be kind of this nebulous thing, but it's just so cool when you get to contribute to that data and when you get to put that your piece of the puzzle into learning about phenology and changes that we see in phenology. So it's one thing though, when you're engaging and bringing volunteers, right? Because volunteers come in regularly, volunteers will go through a training, and volunteers get to go through this whole like learning process about what's going on with your programs. But it's a little bit different when you're engaging guests some guests may come regularly, right? But some guests may come once, and sometimes, yeah, you'll have like school groups or field trips that come into your site. So thinking about what are some ways that we could engage with these one-time visitors, not just our volunteers that are coming in regularly. So we are going to do breakout rooms again, and I do have ideas to share with you guys if you're like, I have no idea how to, but we like to have you guys like talk amongst yourselves and share with each other either things that have been working for you. So when we go into your conversation, think about ways that you have engaged with the public and that have worked for you. Maybe some challenges that you've had, like, hey, I tried this thing and it didn't really work. What are some ways that I could improve it? Or if you're just like, I have no clue how to engage with these visitors, and that's okay, because there is like, you know, it's the science and art being intermingled, right? Or if you have no clue and you'd like to like brainstorm with other program leaders. So I'm gonna mix up your groups a little bit so that you can work with some new people. And I know our group is small, but we'll mix you guys up into some new breakout rooms. So yeah, discuss once again ways that you engage with visitors, challenges that you've had engaging with visitors and ideas on how to solve them, or if you have no idea how to engage with the visitors, brainstorming some ideas on how to do so. For this one, I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to talk amongst yourselves because it's a little bit more detailed. And then we'll get together and we'll talk about some ways that we can engage with people who are visiting our organizations and learning about phenology. All right, welcome back. So hopefully you guys got a chance to like chat and share ideas and experiences with each other. So who would like to share first about the things that your group talked about? I can also pick randomly if that's what you prefer. Some people...
I can talk about Cheryl and I. We are kind of just came up bouncing some ideas around. I have experience with school groups, working with school groups, teaching them about phenology, but I don't have experience teaching phenology to the general public. So kind of what ideas would be intriguing to sort of random visitors?
I want Nick to talk about the swipe decks.
Well, yeah, so I'll just kind of recap. Both Nan and Elizabeth have more, I guess, more mature programs where they've got kind of some folks that are dedicated to this, and they probably get some more like just random or by chance interactions with folks, but you know, they kind of have a stratified or set sites to go to. Like I think Elizabeth mentioned, it's the state's got four different sites they go out to on a regular basis. So not sure, you know, if they have like an idea for like a big outreach push, but one of the things I deal with are school groups and folks that I've just come across find it kind of interesting to see a time series or like a before and after, because what they see out there right now is one thing, but they kind of like to see that change over time. So that's something I've looked into. And a while back, or earlier this year, I saw something on the NPN site, basically a slide stack where you could go from the beginning of the series all the way up, and it would just keep adding photos as long as you got relatively good position in the photo, like everything was lined up. It would just show kind of like like a flip deck or whatnot. And then I have this swipe tool that you can just upload your photos to Dropbox, put the links in this table, and it'll create a swipe tool so you can kind of look at the before and after, which is kind of cool. So those are ideas for engagement online, or if you meet someone, say, hey, you should check this out. This is what this site or what we've done so far looks like.
That's cool. What kind of a tool is it? The swipe tool? Is it like a website or something?
Yeah, it's Night Labs. I can
Cool.
the program's called Juxtapose. It's like a free tool that lots of different media outlets will use.
Okay, cool.
And it's done by a university, but I'll hunt down the link and send it here.
Nice.
Yeah, please do. That sounds really cool. So just so that I'm understanding correctly, it's basically like you have a picture of like kind of the same area, and you can like, they can flip through pictures over time and seeing how it's changing through the year.
That's right.
I like that. What other ideas did you guys come up with?
Because I'm new and I don't have a program yet, couple different ideas. Maritime forest is endangered, and we have quite a bit of it here, and it's being developed rapidly. Not much of it left, but I think it might be interesting to work on that with maritime forest. And we also have all the carnivorous plants living here, like Venus flytrap, pitcher plants, sundew, and people like to see those. So maybe working, we have a lot of environmental groups already, but I don't know of them, any of them doing anything like this. So I know they don't like to let people know where the species are because of poaching.
Yeah, you
So-
don't want to always show them where they are, but still educating the public about why these are important and why these sorts of habitats are important and what we learn when we study them long term. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just like, I don't know, a few counties in North Carolina that have these. So I'm lucky to be in one of them.
That's great.
Hmm.
Nick, I just saw your thing. Yeah, I just saw the links you sent. Thank you for sending those. It's being slow though for
Oh.
me.
It'll take a few seconds to load up the 2 photos. It's not super quick.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought
Yeah.
it was on my end, but that's really cool. Thank you guys. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to share about things that you've done or challenges that you've had? Or yeah, I guess, is there a specific challenge that any of you have faced in trying to, and yeah, that does include like school groups and field trips or people who are just visiting your area. What are some challenges that you've had in engaging them with phenology at your program?
I guess I might be able to tell you in about 6 months. Just getting started. So
That's true. That's
right
true.
now
Right?
the challenge is getting signs.
Pun intended, but I'm not at that phase yet.
Me neither.
I also wasn't much help to the conversation either because the way we have our observers set up for our project is so we have our 4 different sites, like Nick mentioned, and if the site isn't on state land, if it's on partner organizations' land, we either have volunteers or observers through that organization that owns the property, or that volunteers for that organization, or our own staff if it is on state land. So we have all of our volunteers that are going to be participating sort of squared away at the beginning of the year, and that way that we know that there's coverage every week of the year. So we went with a different model for our observers.
So that is something we had kind of sporadic coverage. We were pretty loose with our volunteers. We just kind of said, get out here when you can. And we had 2 people really diligent, but they're both teachers. So now they're back in school, which is good. I mean, but then people go, I went away most of July. So, so we did have some gaps. So that's something like get a calendar together so people can look at it maybe and see when it's needed. You know, someone needs to get out there. So.
Yeah, so when managing with your volunteers, right, and making sure that you're getting those regular observations, and that is definitely a challenge, right? So for one, you gotta bring in volunteers, and then making sure that they that you have some sort of way of scheduling them so that they're getting those regular observations. And that is actually an interesting idea, or like either a calendar at your site or even a calendar online where people can.
Well, yeah, I was thinking online, and I think there was on one of the phenology meetings, it was a couple of months ago, where he was from Scottsdale, where he said they have a calendar online, and I'm like, that's a great idea, where you can just check it.
And even with the volunteers then, if they're like, I want to come in, but I don't know if they need me in at this time, where they can actually see those blank spaces.
Right.
Yeah, and be able to fill it in. And even you can see the big spaces too. So if you want to send out like an email blast or something like, hey, by the way, if anyone could come in on one of the days this week, it would be really helpful, but that way that everyone has the kind of that visual of like where the gaps are.
Right.
Very helpful. Oh, that's great. I guess we have 5 minutes left. I did want to share a couple things that I have heard from other local phenology programs of ways that they engage with their guests, because the thing with Nature's Notebook is, we do have protocols and we do have like, scientific standards to follow so that this data can be usable. So it's not always very practical to be at your site like, hey, like monitor with Nature's Notebook and watch these, right? Because sometimes some phases can be ambiguous and things like that. But some things that we've seen other local phenology programs do to engage with the general public is, I've seen one before where they will have like one particular tree that's very clearly marked, and in their visitor center they'll have like a few clipboards with data sheets for that tree. And they have a little like display for their guests, like, hey, look, we're doing phenology. If you want to track the phenology, you can go to this tree, and they can write it on the data sheet. But that way, it's not going straight into the database. But if you have someone who checks those at the end of the day or at the end of the week, and they're like, okay, great, someone put this in, and actually, they're like, actually, these phenophases seem about right for that time. You can actually enter the data manually, and that way, if the guests are way off, it's like, hey, they get to feel like they were participating, which is really good. But if they were on, then that's great. Then you get that extra piece of data where maybe the volunteer wasn't in that day. Another group has done before too, is they'll actually have a little sign with a QR code, and that QR code will go to a Google form. And the Google form will look similar to what's on the app, right? Do you see leaves? Yes or no? Do you see? And they'll do it for like maybe 1 or 2 plants. And then that Google form will go to the email. And then once again, like at the end of the day, you can check it like, yeah, that seems about right. I can enter this data, or yeah, that's really not what's going on with the plants here. But at least then your guests are still engaged and participating and observing and slowing down and thinking about the things that they're seeing and thinking about those changes. And especially with regular guests, if it's something they like, then the ones who come regularly can start to really practice observing those changes themselves. And maybe they'll turn into a volunteer one day, who knows? And then Elizabeth, I'm gonna say what you wrote on here, but agreeing with the calendar online. And they also have a site leader. So having, either a volunteer or someone who's a part of your staff whose responsibility it is to make sure that the site has coverage each week, right? So we know some places are bigger than others, but there have been some programs where you'll have one of your volunteers, like they're not really able to go out and check the plants themselves, but they have really good skills in administrative work. And so they might want to use those skills to help organize the volunteers. And then she's also said that seeing it Audubon Sanctuary, they use a chalkboard at the entrance exit where people can record what they observe. That's a great idea. Yeah, like a chalkboard or a whiteboard. And you can like have like a display of like, what did you see? And people can write what they observed. That's also a really good way to like engage with your visitors and encourage them, because it's a skill. It's a skill to learn, to be able to observe and notice these things. So providing that opportunity to teach your guests how to observe or have them think about what's going on is really cool. And I think it's great that you guys do these things with your programs, and we appreciate the work that you do. With
I
that,
will do it.
huh? Oh, say that again.
I said I will do.
Yeah, or that you will. Yeah, so I'm super excited that we're gonna have a couple of you guys who are gonna take our local phenology certification course. I'm really excited to have you guys here and participating. We'll start that in a few weeks, but I'm really looking forward to the class. It's one of my favorite parts of my job, is doing this class. So I will be seeing some of you soon. And then with that, so if any of you do have things that you would like to be brought up at any of these meetings, if there's any challenges that you've had in particular that you don't want to bring up in front of everybody, or even if you're out in the middle of an observation, you're like, oh, there's this thing I really want to talk about, you can definitely send Erin or I an email and say like, hey, can we talk about this at one of the meetings? And we would love to be able to bring in your questions or concerns or challenges that you've had and be able to work on them together. So thank you all so much for being here today. Enjoy your autumn transitions for all your plants and animals. And we're gonna see you all again next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great to meet you, Stan.
Nice
Yeah,
meeting
you.
everyone.
Bye.
thank you guys
Bye.
so much.
Bye-bye.